I sat in a cold guest room, my palms were covered in sweat, and I was holding a thin piece of paper in my hand, as if I was holding my entire life. That was a contract, which was clearly written on it. I, Lin Xiaoran, want to marry Gu Tingchen and become his wife. It was not because of love, but because of the huge debt my family owed, that this man used this contract to drag me into the deep and pure door. I signed it. From today on, you are mine. Gu Tingchen sat opposite him, his voice as low as ice, and his eyes were so cold that it could make people froze. He was wearing a custom-made suit, his handsome face seemed to be carved from a knife, but there was no warmth in his eyes. I bit my lower lip tightly, my hands shaking. As an ordinary girl, why would I always get involved with this kind of arrogant domineering person? Half a month ago, my father's company was broken and he owed tens of millions of debts. The debtor came to the door, forcing our family to go almost in desperate situation. Just when I thought I was going to sell a house and even worked a few jobs, the man from Tingchen came to me and said that as long as I signed this marriage contract, I would even leave my father with a return to the future. The conditions are very intimate, but the price is my freedom. Why is it me? I plucked up my courage, and my voice was a little trembling. Why can't you find a woman like you? Why do you have to force me? Gu Tingchen sneered, leaning against the leather sand, his long legs intertwined casually, as if he was looking at a treasure with no ability to resist. Because you are suitable. Lin Xiaoran, don't treat yourself as a treasure. This is just a transaction. I will help you with the debt you owe to me, and you will give me your wife who has been 3 years old, and you will not owe each other. Don't owe each other? After hearing this, I simply regarded me as a product. I felt humiliated, but looking at the debt amount of the astronomical number on the contract, I knew I had no choice. My father was still lying in the hospital. My mother's eyes were crying these days. If I refused, this home would be really over. Okay, I'll sign. I gritted my teeth and picked up the pen, my hands trembling as if I had Parkinson's name. The moment I finished signing, I felt like I had sold my soul. Gu Tingchen didn't even look at me, but got up and left, leaving only one sentence: move to my house tomorrow, don't let me wait. As the door closed, I sat alone in the empty room, my eyes finally couldn't help falling down. I, Lin Xiaoran, have really become the contract wife of this cold-blooded man. The next day, I dragged a broken suitcase and stood at the entrance of Gu Tingchen's villa door, with a sourness that I couldn't say in my heart. The house is so big that it is amazing, with the white outer wall flashing under the sun, and there are still several luxury cars parked at the door that I can't even call out. But I didn't feel excited at all, but instead seemed to have walked into a beautiful prisoner. Come in. Gu Tingchen's voice came from inside, still so cold. I walked in with my head and ran into a woman. She was wearing a high-end dress and a delicate makeup, and she smiled very gently, but her eyes were like poisonous snakes, making me feel uncomfortable. Tingchen, is this the woman you choose? She looks pretty good, just a little rustic. She covered her mouth and smiled, her voice full of ridicule. My heart sank and I recognized her, Su Manli, Gu Tingchen's childhood sweetheart. I said that the relationship between the two was very vague, and everyone in the circle said that she was Gu Tingchen's future real wife. As a result, I was forced to get married now. It would be strange if she could give me a good face. Manli, don't be so arrogant. Gu Tingchen glanced at his eyebrows, but there was no strange meaning in his temperament, but it seemed to be tempted by her. Su Manli curled his lips and said to me, Lin Xiaoran, right? You will be the hostess of this family in the future, but there are some rules you have to learn. For example, this is not a place where you can go wild, do you understand? I bit my teeth tightly and didn't say a word. I was thinking in my heart that this woman was clearly looking for trouble. When she dared to say this with the face of Tingchen, she was obviously relying on his love. But I am not easy to bully. Although I am now entrusting to others, I, Lin Xiaoran, have never been inferior to me. Miss Su, I'm just here to fulfill the contract, not whose air vent. If there is anything wrong, you can tell Mr. Guard directly. I looked at her, my breath was calm, but my heart was beating fast. Su Manli was stunned for a moment, obviously not expecting me to speak up. Her face changed and she wanted to say something. Gu Tingchen coldly said, "It's over, Manli, you go back first." Su Manli glared at me unwillingly and turned away. Only Gu Tingchen and I were left in the villa, and the atmosphere was so awkward that it was suffocating. Lin Xiaoran, don't think you are qualified to challenge her. Gu Tingchen walked up to me, and the air was so stressed that I couldn't breathe. Remember your identity, just a contract with your wife, don't cross the line. My heart stinged and I lowered my head without saying anything. He was like a knife, reminding me that I was just a tool for trading. But on the surface, I swear in my heart that one day, I will make this man regret saying this to me. For the next few days, I was like dancing on the tip of a knife. Gu Tingchen was as cold as a stranger to me, and he didn't say a word to me at all except for the necessary parties. Su Manli came to the villa every now and then to visit it, and every time he humiliated me, either thinking that I was dressed poorly or laughing at me for not seeing the world. I was so enduring that my teeth were almost broken, but I knew that I had no capital to fight her head now. Until a week later, Su Manli couldn't help but dig a big hole for me. That day was an important reception for Gu Tingchen Company, and he asked me to attend as Gu Tingchen. I stood in front of the mirror in the gift suit prepared by his assistant, and for the first time I felt like a privileged woman. But I was so nervous that I knew that Su Manli would definitely not give up this opportunity. Sure enough, the drinks just started, and she left with a glass of red wine, smiling particularly falsely. "Xiaoran, I heard that you have never participated in this kind of party before. Come on, I will teach you how to say hello to others." I felt a warning in my heart, and my face was lightly decorated. "Miss Su is kind, but I can handle it myself. Don't be polite, everyone is a family." She smiled and forced me to walk to a group of precious women. Those women were obviously high-class people, with their eyes full of pickiness and disdain. Su Manli deliberately said, "Everyone, this is Tingchen's new wife, Lin Xiaoran. Everyone has to take good care of her. She is not very familiar with our matchmaking." My heart sank, knowing that she was deliberately pushing me to the forefront. Sure enough, those precious women immediately began to mock and secretly refute. 1. The overall vision is really special. This lady looks quite a bit of a good deal. That's right. No matter how well you dress, you can't cover up that little family atmosphere. My face was red and white, and I wanted to find a place to diamond it. But I can't retreat. Once they can see my weakness, I will have no place to gain a foothold in the future. So, I took a deep breath and smiled hard. "You guys are right. I don't know anything about it, but it's my ability to marry Gu Tingchen, right?" As soon as this happened, the few expensive women were stunned. Then someone laughed and the atmosphere became a little calmer. But Su Manli's face changed, and he obviously didn't expect me to dare to talk back like this. Her eyes turned, pretended to be accidentally, her hands shook, and the red wine in the cup poured on my white dress. "Oh, Xiaoran, I'm so embarrassed, my hand slipped." She apologized, but her eyes were full of pride. I lowered my head and looked at the blockbuster red wine on my body, and a buzzing sound in my brain, and the feeling of humiliation exploded instantly. But I was so angry that I looked up at her. My brain moved quickly. Su Manli's move clearly showed that she wanted me to be sneered in front of everyone, but she underestimated me. "It's okay, Miss Su." I smiled. My temperament was so calm that I couldn't make a mistake. "It's just a piece of clothing, I'll go and change it. However, I remember this glass of wine was given to you just by serving the life. The service life was so slow that it made you slippery. Miss Su had to speak them carefully and not let this misfortune happen again." As soon as this happened, everyone around was stunned. Su Manli's face froze instantly, because I was open and secretly reminding her to go with the service while just drinking, and deliberately used the wine to mock me. What's even better is that I can't tell you this, but I've actually been generous and sensible. Who can tell me that I'm wrong? Sure enough, the eyes of several expensive women next to them changed, and the eyes of Su Manli were a little meaningful. Su Manli was so angry that her face was green, but with so many people in front of her, she couldn't get angry, so she could only smile and said with a hint, "Xiaoran is really going to joke, so I'll talk to the service student." After saying that, she glared at me fiercely and turned away. I felt happy in my heart. This game is my winning. But, I know, this is just a little bitch. A woman like Sumanli would not be so kind and willing to give up. And Gu Tingchen stood far away, looking at me with deep eyes, and didn't know what he was thinking. I felt nervous and felt that the days ahead would probably be more ups and downs. Although the scene at the drinks gave me a small game, the pressure in my heart did not diminish at all. Sumanli's gritting teeth and his two deep and invisible eyes seemed to remind me that this Howman game had just begun. I know that if I continue to stay in this Huali prison, I will be worn out long ago. No, I have to run. This thought grows wildly in my heart like a weed. Ching, I can't stand it anymore. I want to leave this ghost place. I lowered my voice, my phone pressed my ears, afraid that there would be ears across the wall. On the phone head, Gu Tingchen became anxious when she heard it. "Xiaoran, don't be moved. The kind of person like Tingchen, you have a wide range of hands and eyes. You ran away and were caught back, and the consequences would be even worse." I know, but I'm really about to collapse. Sumanli is looking for trouble every day, and Gu Tingchen is as cold as ice to me. I don't want to be a chess piece to be slap. I bit my teeth and my eyes turned around in my eyes, but I didn't let it fall. Gu Tingchen was silent for a while, and finally spoke. "Okay, sister, I support you. But we must have a careful plan and not run around. Don't worry first, I'll go to you tomorrow and we will discuss it in person." After hanging up the phone, my heart calmed down a little. Gu Tingchen is my dead party. From childhood to adulthood, she will always stand behind me no matter what happens to me. I'm not sure if I'm going to run away this time. I'm really worried if I don't help her. The next day, Gu Tingchen left early in the morning, saying that the company had an important meeting. Sumanli didn't come. I could always take a breath. While the nanny was busy sweeping at home, I sneaked to the backyard and saw Gu Tingchen, who had been waiting there for a long time. Tell me what should I do? As soon as I saw her, I couldn't wait to ask, looking around, for fear that someone would find out. Gu Tingchen took out a stack of information from her bag and said in a low voice, "I stayed up late last night to check Gu Tingchen's background. This man is not simple. His name is full of industries all over the country, and there are people in both black and white. If you want to run, you must find a place he can't find, and you have to change it." Change the face? I was stunned for a moment. Yes. Gu Tingchen pointed her head, her eyes calmed down. "I contacted a friend. He has a way in the surrounding city and can help you get a new identity. You go there to avoid the risks first, and I will arrange your work and slowly stand firm. No matter how awesome Gu Tingchen is, he can't search every corner, right?" My heartbeat was accelerating, and this plan was tingling and exciting, but it seemed to be feasible. I gritted my teeth and said, "Okay, that's all. But I don't have much money on me now, and I dare not use the card that Gu Tingchen gave me, for fear of being chased by him." "Don't worry." Gu Tingchen patted her chest, took out a bank card from her bag and stuffed it to me. "There are 50,000 yuan of my burials here, so I'll take it for emergency first. I know you don't like to owe someone, but now it's a key moment. Don't be polite to me." I looked at the card and my eyes were hot, almost unable to hold back. Ching, thank you. I will definitely give you yours. What's more, it's obvious to the sisters." She snatched her hand and smiled very much. "The key point is to move quickly. You have to leave before Gu Tingchen returns. My friend will arrange a car to pick you up tonight. Remember to turn off the phone and leave no traces." I was very nervous and excited. Escape, this is the first time I have taken the initiative to attack my life. That night, I took advantage of the night to secretly pack up a small backpack, with only a few pieces of clothes and the card that Gu Tingchen gave me. There are a lot of monitoring in the villa, but I have long figured out that the path in the back door is a dead corner. At 2 o'clock in the morning, my cat slipped out with my waist, my heart beats like a drumbeat, and my brain was filled with the thought of "don't be discovered." Fortunately, Yi Ziqing's friend was very reliable, and an inconspicuous black car parked at the intersection and waited for me. As soon as I got on the car, the driver asked nothing and opened the door. Seeing the lights in the villa getting farther and farther away, a big stone in my heart finally landed on the ground. "Let's see you again, Gu Tingchen," I silently said in my heart, clenching my fists. "I, Lin Xiaoran, will never let you control my life again." A few days later, I arrived at the Nanjing city. Yi Ziqing's friend helped me get a new identity and rented a small unit. Although the place was broken, I felt unprecedentedly relaxed. The name of the new identity is Lin Xiao. I cut my hair short, changed my clothes style, and felt like I had changed my personal life. However, life still has to continue. I didn't have much academic experience, but fortunately, my brain was flexible and soon found a literary job and worked as an assistant in a small company. The salary is not high, but at least I can support myself. I was busy every day, and I slowly regained my sense of life, and even began to feel that the days when I was forced to get married were like a nightmare. But I never expected that the dream would not end. On the day I worked for a month, I was about to ask my colleague to have a meal, but I received a strange call. The other party's voice was low, with a sense of familiarity that could not be expressed. "Lin Xiaoran, you're running very far." My heart skipped a beat and my phone almost fell to the ground. This sound is Gu Tingchen. How did he find me? How did you know I'm here? I was so proud that my voice could not help but tremble. On the phone, he sneered, "You think you can't recognize you if you change your name and cut your hair? Lin Xiaoran, don't be too naive. My people have long been eyeing you. Is it still time to run away now?" My brain was blank, and there was only one thought in my heart: he was indeed not an ordinary person, and his hands were stretched too long. But I couldn't just understand this and gritted my teeth and replied, "Gu Tingchen, I am no longer your contract wife. If you look for me again, it would be a mistake." "Is it illegal?" His voice was full of ridicule. "You will really make excuses for yourself. But I remind you that the debt you had in the first place was not something you could just say was to be cursed. Lin Xiaoran, you'd better come back by yourself, otherwise you can't afford the consequences." The phone shut down, and I sat in the chair, sweating profusely. This is a threat and a warning. He found me, just a time problem. But why am I willing to be caught by him again? I, Lin Xiaoran, will never believe my life. After calming down, I immediately contacted Yi Ziqing and told her everything. She was anxious after hearing this. "Xiaoran, this man is so distorted. No, you have to change another place and throw him away." "But where can I go?" "Run again, life has to start from the beginning." I felt a little hesitant. "After this month, I finally got here." "Then don't run away and fuck him." Yi Ziqing suddenly came to a ruthless sentence. "Didn't you say you want to make him regret it? Let's not hide, change it. If you have a new identity, just use this to enter a big company and become famous, so that Gu Tingchen knows that you can survive without him." This woke me up. Yes, I can't hide. It's better to take the initiative to attack than to be beaten. I took a deep breath, decided to listen to her, and started to commit suicide, aiming directly to Xingchen Technology, the largest technology company in the local area. Unexpectedly, with my previous experience in a small company and the occasional discovery during the interview, I was actually recorded and became a planning assistant in the market. This job not only doubles its salary, but also can meet many industry masters. To me, it is simply an opportunity from heaven. After I joined the school, I worked hard to learn, working overtime until midnight almost every day. My colleagues all said that I was injected with chicken blood, but they didn't know that I was holding a breath in my heart. I wanted to prove it to Gu Tingchen. I, Lin Xiaoran, are not wastes that I can't survive if I leave him. More than a month later, a small project I was responsible for was actually praised by the boss, saying that my creativity was innovative, and directly helped the company to acquire a large customer. At that moment, there was a thunderous sound in the conference room. I looked at the boss's admiring eyes and couldn't say anything. This is the first time I really felt my value after escaping. But the good times didn't last long. Not many days after the project was successful, the company suddenly received a call saying that the large customer was going to withdraw the funds, because there were doubts about our background. I felt disagreeable as soon as I heard this. This customer was obviously very satisfied before, so why did he suddenly change his mind? Sure enough, that afternoon, the market manager called me into the office and said with a difficult face, "Lin Xiao, the name on the customer is that there is a problem with your background. Do you always explain? Have you offended some big shot?" My heart sank, and the first thing I flashed through my brain was Gu Tingchen's name. This guy really doesn't plan to let me go. He wanted to cut off my back and force me to lower my head. "Manager, I have no problem with my background, maybe there may be any mistakes. I strongly designed and tried to redeem it." But the manager snatched the head and said excitedly, "The customer's attitude is very strong. If you don't deal with you, you will withdraw the funds. Our small company can't afford this kind of discount. Lin Xiao, it's not that I don't help you, but it's actually..." I didn't finish speaking, but I understood what he meant. If they want to keep their customers, they can only sacrifice me. I felt a chill in my heart, but I still smiled hard. "I understand, manager, I will take the initiative to rebel and not cause trouble for the company." When I walked out of the office, I clenched my fists and shook my body with anger. "Gu Tingchen, you are so cruel. But do you think this will force me to go back? Make a dream." After working, I was not in a hurry to find a new job, but started to check the background of that big customer. With the skills I learned in the market department before, I quickly discovered that this so-called big customer is actually a partner in the name of a subsidiary of Gu Tingchen. To put it bluntly, it was the one he deliberately set up. I was so angry that I almost smashed my computer, but when I thought about it, I was so incorrect. Does Gu Tingchen actually care about where I am going? Otherwise, he has to make a big deal to do these small moves. Since he cared, I insisted on being better, so that his eyes could be watched as I climbed higher, and he wouldn't beat me. So, I contacted a larger multinational company and planned to start over. This time, I directly invested my sutra to the headquarters, with the goal of being a market planning specialist. On the day of the interview, I wore the best outfit and talked about my experience over the past few months, and even mentioned the success story of Star Technology. The interviewer heard the frequency point and finally made a decision. "Lin Xiao, we appreciate your ability. Let's sign a contract in 3 days." I walked out of the building and felt ecstatic. This company is a business leader. No matter how awesome Gu Tingchen is, he dare not come in and interfere, right? This time, I will stand firm and let him know that I, Lin Xiaoran, are not soft persimmons that he can knead at will. But the night before I was about to sign the contract, Gu Tingchen suddenly called and the voice was filled with panic. "Xiaoran, it's not good. I just heard the news, and Gu Tingchen seemed to have found some things about you in the past. He said that your father was doing business that year and it was a big case. Now he wants to use this threat to come back." After I heard it, my brain buzzed and it was blank in an instant. What big case? Although my dad's business failed, he never mentioned this. What tricks are Gu Tingchen playing? Or, is there really any secrets I don't know? When I received Gu Tingchen's call, my whole body was like an ice cave, and my phone almost slipped off. Gu Tingchen said, "What big case should my dad have to do?" This was like a heavy note, which made me dizzy. Although my dad failed in business, he has never mentioned these miserable things to me. Is there any secret that really sticks to me? Or is this the right thing compiled by Gu Tingchen, who is used specifically to force me to go back? "Qingqing, who did you hear? Are you proof?" I suppressed the panic in my heart, and my voice was so low that I could hardly hear it. At the end of the phone, Gu Tingchen's words were also very anxious. "A friend of mine has some connections in the business district. I heard that Tingchen was checking your old records recently and found some Chenyan files. I don't know what the specifics are. But Xiaoran, since he dares to release this kind of words, it is definitely not groundless. You have to be careful." I bit my lower lip tightly and my brain flew quickly. Careful? I want to be careful, but Tingchen, a man, is like a big net, has long covered me tightly. Where can I hide? But I can't just think so. No matter whether this is true or false, I have to stand firm and follow him first, and I can't let him walk with my nose. Ching, I understand. Don't worry, I'll handle it. I took a deep breath, snuck the phone, and sat on the small sand in the rental house. The whole person was as tight as a string. The next day, I still went to the multinational company as planned and signed a contract. Looking at the position of market planning specialist on the contract, a flame ignited in my heart. No matter what Gu Tingchen wants to fuck, I will make myself stronger, so strong that he can no longer move me. After joining the job, I was like a desperate top, busy every day. I was at the forefront of planning plans, market research, and customer connections, and even spent overtime at the company all the weekends. My colleagues all said that I was fighting too hard, but they didn't know that I was more frugal with my fate. After a month, my efforts were not in vain. The manager of the department directly expressed me at the full meeting, saying that the advertising plan I was responsible for made customers very satisfied and helped the company lock a large order. Lin Xiao, you are really a newcomer to Tibetans. I will learn more with you in the future. The manager smiled so hard that he couldn't hold his mouth, and his colleagues kept popping their eyes. I smiled and slighted my voice secretly. At this moment, I finally felt a little bit of confidence. Gu Tingchen, have you seen it? I, Lin Xiaoran, can still be prosperous even without you. But this pride didn't last long, and the trouble came to the door. That day, when I got off work, my phone suddenly received a strange text message, with only a few simple words. Lin Xiaoran, don't be too proud, the game just started. My heart was tight and Lima guessed who this was. Apart from Gu Tingchen, who else can there be? This guy still refused to let me go. Just as I was about to turn off my phone, I swept the corners of my eyes to the company's building, and a familiar figure stood, Su Manli. She was wearing a high-end suit, wearing 10-centimeter high heels, and had exquisite makeup on her face, and was chatting with the front desk lady with a smile. But those two eyes always glanced at me, and they were full of picking. My heart sank, I held my phone tightly, pretending that I didn't see it, and I turned around and wanted to leave. But she seemed to have locked the treasure long ago, and she stopped me in a few steps. Her voice was sweet. Yi, Xiaoran, I haven't seen it for a long time, I've been doing well. I heard that I have become an executive of a big company. I sneered and looked at her. Miss Su, what's wrong with me? If it's okay, I'll have to go home and I won't have time to chat with you. The smile on Suman's face froze, but soon returned to the hypocritical look. Don't be so cold. I just heard that you were at this job and came to see you. I'll just remind you that some things can't be escaped. What does it mean? I was furrowed, and I was puzzled by a bad feeling in my heart. She approached a little, pressed down on a low voice, and was full of pride in her voice. You think you can pass away by changing your name and city? Xiaoran, Tingchen is not that easy to fool. He has already found out what your father did that year. If you don't want to be at home, you'd better go back by yourself and don't force him to be serious. This is like a knife, piercing my heart. What happened to my dad? Why did she and Gu Tingchen both bite this point? But I was still dressed lightly on my face and smiled lightly. Miss Su, when I was threatening, I remember it was really true to take out some things. Who wouldn't say anything in verbal words? Besides, I'm doing a good job now. Go back? Let's have a dream. Su Manli didn't expect me to be so hard. Her face turned blue and white, but with so many people in the company, she was not easy to do, so she could only grit her teeth and stare at me. Lin Xiaoran, don't be too ugly, one day, you will regret it. After saying that, she turned her head and left, her high heels stomped on the ground. I looked at her back and felt no relaxation in my heart. Su Manli is very determined. If she dares to come to me, there must be a Gu Tingchen sucking her waist behind her back. And my dad's affairs were probably the ones they used to press my code. No, I have to take the initiative to attack and can't let them walk with their noses. That night, I called Yi Ziqing, told me about the matter that Su Manli came to me, and then asked directly, "Tingchen, please check me. My dad used to do business. Is there anything unhappy? I have to figure out what the hell is Gu Tingchen holding." Gu Tingchen replied, "Okay, I'll ask my friend now to see if I can dig out anything. Don't worry, Xiaoran, no matter what, I will carry it with you." With her words, my heart was a little calmer. But in the next few days, the atmosphere in the company began to become strange. Some colleagues looked at me strangely, and there were even a few people who had good relationships with me, who began to deliberately and unintentionally escape from me. Until Friday afternoon, the department manager called me into the office, and my face was as dark as if it was about to rain. "Lin Xiao, the company recently received some anonymous reports, saying that you have a problem with your background and may have involved business quiz." The manager was very angry and stared at me with his eyes fixed on me. "What's going on?" My heart skipped a beat and I realized in an instant that this must be the one that Gu Tingchen and Su Manli were doing again. They wanted to directly destroy my job foundation and force me to have no way out. But I couldn't panic. I took a deep breath and replied calmly, "Manager, my background is clean and clean. These reports are purely connotation. If the company thinks there is a problem, I can go and check it out, and I will definitely cooperate." The manager heard it and his eyebrows were a little relaxed, but he still sighed. "Lin Xiao, I believe in your ability, but the company's high-level company attaches great importance to this matter. Now the pressure of the discussion is high. We can only let you stop working at a time and wait until the investigation is clear before talking." Suspension? Isn't this just changing and excluding? I was angry, but I still said, "Okay, I accept it. But manager, I hope the company can make the investigation results public. If I am innocent, I hope I can give me justice." When I walked out of the office, my hands were shaking. "Gu Tingchen, Su Manli, you are so cruel. But I, Lin Xiaoran, have never been easy to bully. If you want to destroy me, I insist on letting you see how I can turn it around." That night, Gu Tingchen called and found some clues. "Xiaoran, my friend said that your father was indeed related to a big project that year. He heard that it involved some gray transactions, but the specific details were blocked very seriously and he couldn't even dig it out. However, there is one thing that can be confirmed. Gu Tingchen actually held some related files in his hand." After listening, my heart was filled with a deep breath. It turns out that this matter is not groundless, and Gu Tingchen really has a handle. But the more I am, the less I can't lower my head. I gritted my teeth and said to Gu Tingchen, "Tingchen, help me. I want to see Gu Tingchen and talk to him in person." "What? You're crazy." Gu Tingchen's voice changed in surprise. "You're a self-submission network." "I'm not crazy, I'm very awake." I sneered, "You can't hide. It's better for me to take the initiative to attack than if he is forced into the end of the road. I want to see what the handle in his hand can do to me." 3 days later, I contacted Tingchen's people through Gu Tingchen's friend and asked him to meet him at a cafe in the city center. On the day I met, I wore the most exquisite professional dress and put on a light makeup, and the whole person looked both meticulous and enthusiastic. "Gu Tingchen, do you think I was or the Lin Xiaoran who you let you do? Today, I want you to know that I have changed." He came later than me, and the moment he pushed the door in, he was still in the cold look, wearing a black suit, and his atmosphere was so strong that he couldn't breathe. But I didn't lower my head, looked straight at him, and asked, "Gu Tingchen, you threatened me with your father's affairs. What do you want to fuck me?" He raised his eyebrows and sat down, his lingering full of ridicule. "Lin Xiaoran, you really dare to come to see me? Why, aren't you afraid that I will catch you back directly?" "Catch me back?" I sneered, picked up the coffee and took a sip. "Gu Tingchen, I'm no longer a pawn in your contract. If you really have the ability, take out the things in your hand. Don't always hide it and play with this kind of trick." His eyes sank, and he obviously didn't expect me to be so hard. After a moment of silence, he finally opened his mouth. "Lin Xiaoran, the project your father participated in that year involved billions of funds, and there were many unsightly operations in it." The certificate in my hand made him squat in a prison. "If you are smart, come back obediently, otherwise, I don't mind handing these things to the police. As soon as this came out, I was shocked, but I was still dressed indifferently. Oh? Verdict? Then you should take it and take a look. Gu Tingchen, don't think that you can scare me by simply editing a few words. I will find out my father's matter by myself. If you wrongly accuse him, don't blame me for coming and telling you. He was stunned for a moment, obviously not expecting that I would dare to fight this way. The air was filled with the smell of ignition, but my heart was unusually cold. Gu Tingchen, do you think I am still that little girl who doesn't know anything? In the past year, I have learned how to protect myself. At this moment, the door of the cafe was suddenly pushed open, and Su Manli walked in with surprise, with a sharp voice like a knife. Tingchen, why would you meet her? Lin Xiaoran, you really don't have to face. You dare to come back and seduce people after you run away. I glanced at her coldly and smiled meaningfully. Miss Su, I'm moving my brain before speaking. You guys are fucking me, and I'm looking for Tingchen to face it. Why is it seducing? Or are you afraid that I will expose your little actions? Su Manli's face turned pale, and Lima looked at Gu Tingchen, as if he wanted to ask for help. But Tingchen ignored her, his eyes were locked on me, and his emotions were flashing in my mind that I couldn't understand. When I felt a sudden understanding of something, this man's attitude towards me was not that simple. Su Manli, you go out first. He finally opened his mouth, his voice as cold as ice. Su Manli was unwilling to give up, but he didn't dare to resist. He glared at me fiercely and turned away. I looked at her back, sneered, and turned to Gu Tingchen. Gu Tingchen, your childhood sweetheart is really provoking trouble. But I remind you that I will find out about my father's affairs. If you are deliberately framed, don't blame me for biting it back. After saying that, I got up and left without giving him any chance to react. But when I walked to the door, my wrist was grabbed by a force. When I looked back, I saw that Gu Tingchen's handsome face was so close that he was actually wearing a piece of silk, stinging in his eyes. Lin Xiaoran, do you really think I'm just threatening you? His voice was shocking. You'd better not touch some things, otherwise, you will regret it. I felt a little frustrated in my heart, but I still shook his hand with my head and said, Gu Tingchen, don't pretend to be a god or a ghost. I, Lin Xiaoran, are never afraid of regret. After saying that, I walked out without looking back, my heart beat as fast as if it was about to explode. What does he mean? What bigger secret does my dad really hide? And what is he hiding? Walking out of the cafe, the cold wind came over me, I wrapped my coat tightly, and my heart seemed to be burning with a fire. The sentence "you'd better not touch some things" in Gu Tingchen was like a thorn in my brain, and he couldn't get rid of it. What exactly is he hiding? In my dad's business, what big secret is there? But the more I am, the less I can't retreat. Gu Tingchen, do you think you can scare me by using a few ambiguous words? Make a dream. Back at the rental house, I called Yi Ziqing and told me all the things I had just met. After she heard it, her voice became solemn. Xiaoran, I heard what you mean. Tingchen seemed to really know something, but he didn't want to hold it out in full. He wanted to hang you with your father's affairs and force you to turn back. I think so too. I gritted my teeth and tightened my phone. But I will never be shaken by his nose again. Qingqing, help me, continue to dig up the details of my dad's project that year. No matter how much money I spent, I must know the truth. Okay, let me cover it. Yi Ziqing replied, but be careful, since Gu Tingchen dares to say this, maybe there is really a killer. You have not been there recently. I will help you think about the suspension of work in the company. After hanging up the phone, I sat on the bed, my brain was in a mess. Over the years, I thought I had seen through the coolness of life, but I didn't expect that even greater storms were waiting for me. But no matter what, I, Lin Xiaoran, never agree. In the next few days, I was just pretending to be incompetent. During the day, I went to the library to check information, and secretly contacted some old acquaintances at night to try to dig out the inside story of my father's business that year. At the same time, news came from Yi Ziqing that she found a veteran who worked with my dad that year. Although she was old, Her memory was still clear and she was willing to meet me. The meeting place was about a small tea house. The big man had a surname, Zhang, with white hair and a very sharp look. After sitting down and talking for a few greetings, I went straight to the topic. Uncle Zhang, how much do you remember my dad's project back then? Is there anything wrong with it? Uncle Zhang held the teacup and glanced at him, his eyes flashed, and he sighed. Xiaoran, some things have passed away, and your father doesn't want you to come in. Why do you have to dig your heart and ask? I felt nervous and asked, Uncle Zhang, what do you mean? Is there any inconsistency that cannot be seen? My dad is still in the hospital bed now, and as a daughter, I have to figure it out for him. He was silent for a long time, and finally opened his mouth. That year, your dad's company took on a big project, saying that it was related to the government and that the funds flowed a lot. But something went wrong in the middle, saying that someone embezzled public funds. The project was yellow, and many people were tired. Although your dad was not the main point, he couldn't do it. Later, this matter was suppressed by the top, and I don't know what was going on. I felt a sudden sensation in my heart. The first thing I flashed in my brain was Gu Tingchen's cold face. It turns out that he really has a handle on his hand. This is not an empty threat. But my dad has never mentioned these to me. Is he trying to protect me or is there any ulterior secrets? Uncle Zhang, is there anyone else who knows about the past? For example, who can prove that my dad is not the master? I asked anxiously. Uncle Zhang shook his head. Xiaoran, the time has passed too long. People from that year either dispersed or were reluctant to mention it. If you really want to check it, you probably have to find those big names with great hands and eyes, such as, people from the courtesy. Guests? Gu Tingchen? My heart was shocked and I understood what he meant in an instant. It seems that if this matter goes back, we still have to return to Gu Tingchen. But why am I willing to beg him again? No, I have to find another way. At this moment, the phone suddenly hit. It was Yi Ziqing. She was so anxious that she said, Xiaoran, it's not good. I just heard that Gu Tingchen seemed to be trying to attack your father, saying that he wanted to hand over the file from that year to the police. Think about it quickly, don't really let him be too serious. My brain buzzed, and my hands holding the phone were shaking. Gu Tingchen, you are so cruel. This forces me to the extreme. But the more I am, the more I have to calm down. I gritted my teeth and said to Yi Ziqing, Qingqing, don't panic. I'll go find him now. This time, I'll play cards with him. That afternoon, I called Gu Tingchen directly, and his language was as cold as ice. Gu Tingchen, don't do these little moves. Let's meet and tell me clearly in person. He didn't recommend it and sneered, okay, Lin Xiaoran, I want to see what other trump cards do you have. The place to meet was still the same cafe. When I arrived, Gu Tingchen was already sitting by the window, wearing a black coat, and his atmosphere was so strong that it made people breathless. But I was not afraid at all, so I sat down and headed straight to the topic. Gu Tingchen, what is the file in your hand? Don't play with me, it's fun. He raised his eyebrows, and there was a slightest bit of fun in his eyes. Lin Xiaoran, you are really not afraid of death. I have said about your father for a long time, so he was squatting in a prison. Are you coming to challenge me now? Do you think I dare not act? Don't dare? I sneered and stared into his eyes. Gu Tingchen, if you were really proven, you would have been pissed off with me for so long? To be honest, you just threatened me with this and forced me to go back and be your pawn. But I tell you, I, Lin Xiaoran, will never be pinned by you again. As soon as this happened, his face finally changed, and there was a complex emotion in his eyes. My heart was beating fast, and I picked up the file and opened it. It was filled with records of the funds flow of the project that year, and there were several signature documents, which contained my father's name on it. But after a closer look, I found that there were many loopholes in many places, and the signs and pens were not correct. It was obviously caused by later. Tingchen, are you bluffing me with fake documents? I raised my head. My language was full of ridicule. Even the court does not recognize these things. Do you think I will believe it? He was stunned for a moment. obviously not expecting that I could see the clues. But the next second, he suddenly stood up. His voice was shocking. Lin Xiaoran, do you really think I only have these? What happened back then was more complicated than you thought. I'll ask you, don't check it again, otherwise, your father's hospital bed would not be able to be kept. This was like a heavy note, which made me panic in my heart. But I still held my fingers and smiled coldly. Gu Tingchen, think about yourself before threatening others. I will find out my father's affairs by myself. If you framed them on purpose, don't blame me for killing you. After saying that, I got up and left, but my heart was overwhelmed. He just said that, clearly implying that there are bigger secrets. But what did my dad do? Gu Tingchen, why did he insist on keeping this matter? That night, I turned around and my brain was full of Gu Tingchen's heavy face. Until the early morning, Yi Ziqing suddenly called and cried in her voice, Xiaoran, it's not good. Your dad was just sent to the emergency room and heard that someone deliberately stimulated him, causing a heart attack. After hearing this, my brain was blank and I didn't even hold my phone and fell directly to the ground. Heart disease occurs? This is clearly fucked by Gu Tingchen. He is going to force my whole family to death. I bit my teeth, and Rima rushed out of the door and headed straight to the hospital. When I arrived at the hospital, my dad was still in the emergency room. My mom was sitting at the door, crying so hard that her eyes were burping. I hugged her, and my heart stinged. Gu Tingchen, if you really dare to move my family, I, Lin Xiaoran, swear that I will never let you go. A few hours later, the doctor finally came out and said that my dad was temporarily out of danger, but he still had to be hospitalized for observation. I relaxed my breath and my brain was sober. This must be a final conclusion. The next day, I directly found Gu Tingchen's company and entered his office. He was sitting behind the desk and saw me coming in. His eyebrows sniffed. Lin Xiaoran, do you really dare to come? Gu Tingchen, don't put it on. I looked at him coldly. All of my temper was full of hatred. Did you fuck my dad's business? Do you still have some humanity? He was stunned for a moment, then stood up and walked up to me, with a low voice. Lin Xiaoran, do you really think I will do this kind of thing? I tell you that your father's illness has nothing to do with me. But I warn you not to investigate again, otherwise you can't afford the consequences. Can't you bear it? I sneered, and my eyes couldn't help but fall. Gu Tingchen, you ruined my family, and you dare to say this? I tell you, I'm sure. If there's really something wrong with your father, I'll let the truth come out. If you're doing something behind your back, I won't let you go. After saying that, I turned around and left, but when I reached the door, he suddenly hugged me from behind, and a shiver was shaking in the sound. Lin Xiaoran, don't leave. I'm wrong. My whole body froze, my brain was blank. What is he talking about? I turned around and saw Gu Tingchen's eyes filled with pain and prickling, as if I had hidden countless secrets. Lin Xiaoran, I admit that I forced you to get married because of hatred. His voice was so low that I could hardly hear it. Your father's project that year caused my family to be destroyed. My father died in that accident. That's why I used a contract to carry you around and wanted to report it. But later, I found out that I had long loved you. This was like thunder, blowing my brain blank. Report? Love me? I looked at Gu Tingchen and for the first time I realized that he was not the lofty domineering general, but a man full of scars. Do you love me? So I use my father's affairs to threaten me and destroy my family? I gritted my teeth and my eyes couldn't stop flowing. Gu Tingchen, I can't bear your love. Not me. He suddenly knelt down, his voice filled with collapse. Lin Xiaoran, I admit that I checked your father's affairs, but the file is fake. I have never thought of really hurting him. Your father was sick that day, and it was Su Manli. She deliberately stimulated him and wanted to force you to come back. Xiaoran, I'm wrong. I shouldn't hate you. I just want you to stay away from me. I watched him kneel on the ground, his brains forming a group. Su Manli? It's her again. I bit my teeth and finally understood everything. It turns out that Gu Tingchen was blinded by hatred from the beginning to the end, and Su Manli was the real mastermind behind the scenes. Tingchen, I won't be rude about your mistakes. I looked at him coldly, calm, but Su Manli, I won't let go. You'd better explain what she did, otherwise, I'll never finish it. After saying that, I walked out without looking back. The hatred in my heart has not diminished at all. Su Manli, I will settle for you with this account. A few days later, with the help of Yi Ziqing, I collected the evidence that Su Manli went to the hospital to stimulate my father and directly called the police. At the same time, I exposed all the things she had told me about over the years to the media. As soon as the label of the noble girl was posted, her fame was terrible in an instant, and even Tingchen also openly planned to clear the boundaries with her. As for Gu Tingchen, he had come to me several times, and every time he would beg me for some reason, and even said that he would transfer half of the property under his name to me, just asking me to turn it back. But when I looked at him, my heart was only cold. Gu Tingchen, when you forced me to sign a contract, I didn't think about today. I smiled calmly, my eyes were cold. I, Lin Xiaoran, never look back. I will never forget the harm you have done to me. I am very good now, I don't need you, let alone your love. After saying that, I turned away and looked at his back in a daze, and finally felt relieved in my heart. The truth was revealed, Su Manli was reported, and Gu Tingchen finally paid the price for his mistakes. A few months later, I returned to the company and became the department manager with my efforts. My dad was discharged from the hospital, and although he was still weak, he became much more energetic. I stood on the sun stand of my new home, looking at the lights away, and my heart couldn't say anything. Gu Tingchen, I, Lin Xiaoran, have lived for myself from now on. The domineering and harm you once had finally become my counterattack. And I finally walked out of your shadow and welcomed the light belonging to me.